there, provide them with transport resources to be able to move them from there to 850 kilometers northeast to the port of Port Sudan. So far, I've already shared with you the numbers which are currently in Port Sudan, 320. Even as we speak, there are, I don't want to give you the precise numbers, but substantial number of buses are currently on the way from Khartoum city to Port Sudan. So you will get an update on how many numbers would have left Khartoum to reach Port Sudan by this evening. But I would say if you were to total the Indian nationals who have reached back India, the Indian nationals who are in Jeddah, the Indian nationals who are in Port Sudan, area of relative safety compared to Khartoum city, the number of people who are on the way from Khartoum city to Port Sudan, I would say approximately, again this is an approximation, but the precise numbers as in when we register we'll get to know. I think we'd be touching close to about 2,000 people who have already moved out from the conflict zone. I mean 1,700 to 2,000. As I said, it would not be correct for me to give specificity to these numbers because of the conflict situation, the logistical challenges, the sheer availability of transport resources, etc. Actually put a constraint. As I said, no, you see, you have to understand when you say conflict zone, where is the conflict zone? So when you, if you bracket, let's say, X number of Indian nationals still in Khartoum city, it's not necessary that all of them may be in the conflict zone within the Khartoum city. There are other areas of Khartoum city which are, the city itself is of course volatile, but it's a question of relative safety of different locations within the city. And I think given the complexity and the nature of this assistance Operation Kaveri, I think it would be absolutely incorrect for me to even speculate that X number is. Our effort is to get every standard Indian out of the harm's way into an area of relative safety, and then from there to Port Sudan and back here.
Thank you, sir. I'll take Manush.
Sir, as you mentioned, in fact, Government of India is in touch.
Introduce yourself for record.
So this is Manas Bhuyan from PTI. So as you mentioned, we are in touch with all the sites in Sudan to ensure security and safety of the Indian nationals. So what is your assessment? How long the ceasefire will hold actually? I mean, when you are in touch with them, in fact. I mean, and then what is our I mean, do you have any target that in fact X number of Indians we want to just move back to the safer zones during this period?
Our target is as early as possible.
Yeshi?
This is Yeshi Sehi from the New Indian Express. You've mentioned that there are about 1,000 PIOs. So are these people, I mean, do they have family back in India, or will you be hosting them if they were to be evacuated, and are some already on the way?
Andrew?
Sir, Andrew, BBC News. I was just wondering if you could speak to the security challenges that these buses face when they undertake the journey back to Port Sudan, and given that the situation is complex. Thank you.
Yes.
This is Chandrakala from ETV Bharat. So my question is, when you talk about India's role, how do you see, or what would be your comment if, if we talk about, do you think that India is seen as a neutral party in the Sudan crisis, basically? And you have already talked about the logistics challenges. So how's the government and the diplomats managing, basically?
Sir, okay. I didn't understand that question. Anyway, I'll start. Yeah. Take one more after that.
आपने कहा कि एसएफ और आईएसएफ दोनों के साथ संपर्क में हैं।
इंट्रोड्यूस कर ले।
उमाशंकर एनडीटीवी से। आपने कहा एसएएफ और आरएसएफ दोनों के साथ संपर्क में हैं। जितने भारतीयों को निकाला गया वो जो इलाके हैं वो क्या ज़्यादा आरएसएफ के दबदबे वाले, उनके कब्जे वाले हैं या एसएएफ के कब्जे वाले, और दोनों का रिस्पांस कैसा है? दोनों एक समान कोऑपरेट कर रहे हैं या?
You had a question. I thought you didn't. Okay. Yeah. Okay. No, you didn't raise your hand. Go ahead.
Elena, TASS News Agency. Good morning, sirs. Does India have enough facilities to help other countries in evacuation of foreign nationals? Has India had such requests from other countries, and is India ready to help other countries in evacuation of
Sorry, I think Foreign Secretary
foreign
just answered
nationals?
it. He just answered that question. Yes, he just
and
answered.
in particular, of course, I'm interested in helping in evacuation of Russian citizens.
He just
Have
answered
you
the
got
question.
such
But
a
anyway.
request or not?
Yeah. Okay, so we'll take one more round with a few more questions left.
Hi, sir.
No, hold on.
From India
Can
today.
we take him?
Let's let him finish.
Sir, you just mentioned that India has good relations. I mean, has been in talks with both the warring factions. So, if need be, is India willing to play a role in mediation process as well, if required?
Actually, the focus was on Operation Kaveri. We are, but anyway, I'll let FS take.
Okay.
There are a few more questions. We'll take one more quick round.
Yeah.
So, please.
Okay. So, Manas, first to repeat answer to your question, our objective and target is to take the stranded Indians out of the harm's way as early as possible. That's the objective. As early as possible is a function of several things which I just mentioned. Yeshi, can you just repeat the sense of your question? I didn't quite get it.
You said that there are 1,000.
Okay.
Once they come back,
Yeah,
we'll look
yeah,
after them.
yeah. See, as I mentioned, there are roughly, according to our estimates, and our estimates be slightly off the mark, 900 to 1,000 persons of Indian origin there. These are persons of Indian origin who have been living in Sudan for over 100 years. So they have deep roots in that part of the society. But should these PIOs be interested in moving to an area of relative safety, naturally, whatever we can do under the circumstances, we would definitely provide all assistance to them. To the BBC question on the security situation on the way during the process of mobilization and movement of Indians from the middle of the conflict zone to Port Sudan. I have already shared with you that the security situation on the ground is highly complex. Within the Khartoum city and then extending to the other parts of the country. All I would say is that during the movement and mobilization of stranded Indians from Khartoum city to Port Sudan, whatever issues were faced on the way, whether they were logistical challenges or whether those were challenges to ensure that all through the path of the corridor there are no obstacles to the movement, those were addressed by the embassy and resolved in a manner that ensured that our people reach Port Sudan and then from Port Sudan to Deja, which was the central objective, which is the central objective of Operation Kaveri. The question from ETV on, I've already spoken about logistical challenges, so I would not repeat in that sense. But as I said, we've had good relations. We've always enjoyed good relationship with all the stakeholders in Sudan. So naturally, when a situation like this presents itself, there is always a certain view that the stakeholders in Sudan would take of what does India stand for, what do Indian people represent. So they all recognize that India stands for for a very strong development partnership with Sudan. They see Indian nationals as a good citizens who are there essentially to help in the partnership between India and Sudan. And naturally, when we have conversation with all stakeholders and talk about the challenges and the need for us to take out, our people from harm's way, all stakeholders respond accordingly based on how they position India in terms of, the relationship between the two countries. The SAF, RSF.
को जानना चाहते थे कि वो कहाँ पे है, एसएफ एरियाज थे कि आरएसएफ एरियाज थे ज़्यादा?
देखिए उमाशंकर जी, वो जो जहाँ पे लड़ाई चल रही है वो पूरा इलाका जो है बहुत ही अस्थिर और परिवर्तनशील है. तो यदि मैं कहूँ कि इस इलाके में आरएसएफ का दबदबा है, उस इलाके में एसएएफ का दबदबा है, हो सकता है कि 2 घंटे बाद स्थिति परिवर्तित हो जाए. तो ये कहना कि किन क्षेत्रों में एसएएफ का वर्चस्व है और किन क्षेत्रों में आरएसएफ कंट्रोल में है, स्थिति की अस्थिरता को देखते हुए ऐसी कोई भी टिप्पणी करना मेरे ख्याल से तथ्य आधारित भी नहीं होगा, क्योंकि ग्राउंड पे जो सिचुएशन है वो लगातार बदल रही है. We have received, I think, to the question from TASS agencies, a few requests from foreign countries for evacuation. As I said, our effort is to help everybody we can, subject to, of course, as I said, the regulations of the transit country also, which has to receive them. But from our side, we'll try anybody whom we can to move out of conflict area into the safety. Of course, we have to prioritize naturally Indian nationals who are there. Sorry?
From Russia,
I can check and get back to you on that one.
I think the last question on
Warring factions.
I think warring factions are answered already. Sir.
I think that question I've already answered.
Since there's interest, we'll just take a few, but I can't take that many questions. Yes, ma'am, go ahead.
Sir, I'm Suchitra from News 8 in Tamil. Sir, I would like to know whether any more of Indian citizens are injured during the conflict or rescued from for the fact. Yeah.
Yes, sir, go ahead.
Yes, Sanjay here from Arab News. My question is that, as you said that Saudi Arabia is providing logistical support in Jeddah. Is Saudi Arabia also providing strategic support on the ground in evacuation of the Indian nationals in Sudan?
Yeah, go ahead.
सर मैं विशाल पांडे हूँ जी न्यूज़ से. आपने जानकारी दी कि लगभग 2000 नागरिकों को कॉन्फ्लिक्ट जोन से बाहर निकाला जा चुका है. कोई एस्टिमेटेड टाइम कि जो ऑपरेशन कावेरी है कब तक वो खत्म होगा, क्योंकि हालांकि हालात वहाँ पर बहुत
अभी तो
नहीं है.
जवाब दिया था उन्होंने. एनीवे ठीक है, टाइम लग जाना है. या लड़ो क्वेरी.
So I'm Shailesh Kumar from National Defence. We have seen overwhelmingly successful operation during Operation Ganga, Vande Bharat, and current ongoing Operation Kaveri. So I want to understand, what do you attribute it to, whether the soft power of India or the hard power of India growing, and we are successful carrying out operations at such a large scale, almost very distant part of the world.
So Rishi this side from the New Indian. First question, sir. The name Kaveri has come with what significance the name has been, put out. And one, what is a thing to Indians stranded who are still not able to get in touch with the embassies? You are saying certain numbers. So what is it that you have to request them?
Who request who?
I mean, people who are stranded, people who are
Message.
seeing our broadcast. Yeah.
Okay. You had a question? No. Yeah. Fine. No, I think we'll the last one here. I'm just too many questions. Apologies.
So this is Vishal from DD News. Though the question has already been asked, but still I would like to frame. Do you think that the current situation and the way Indian government is handling it, is it rise of a new India power globally?
I think we'll stop. Is there something else? Somebody, you had a hand? Anything different? You have a different question? No, I have 1 second. Yes, okay.
नमस्कार सर, मैं सर्जना शर्मा सनमार्ग से हूँ। आपने जैसा कहा कि आप दोनों पक्षों से संपर्क में हैं, और क्या आप ये उम्मीद रखते हैं कि जब 850 किलोमीटर का लंबा कॉरिडोर, रोड कॉरिडोर होगा, तो सेफ पैसेज देंगे ये दोनों पक्ष भारतीयों को और किसी तरह की हिंसा नहीं करेंगे उनके साथ?
बट ये तो उत्तर दे दिया है साहब ने। सर मैं हैंड ओवर द फ्लोर टू यू।
संजय जी, जो आपका प्रश्न है कि वो सेफ पैसेज देंगे, किसी को हताहत नहीं करेंगे, उसका प्रमाण तो लगभग 1700 उन नागरिकों में है जो कि सुरक्षित रूप से निकल चुके हैं। तो वो अपने आप में प्रमाण है कि जो लैंड कॉरिडोर है 850 किलोमीटर का, वो किस प्रकार से जो है ग्राउंड पे काम कर रहा है।